Come back from closed door session. We'll actually have more, so
No reportable action.
thank you. Next item is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I believe we have some helpers here today for that. Welcome. There you go, you're on.
Thank you for inviting us to lead your meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance today. I have two fourth graders from Ophir Elementary School. Saying the Pledge of Allegiance helps form a connection to our country, the United States of America.
My name is Nalea Melendez. When we say the Pledge of Allegiance, we honor the flag and everything it represents. We are a country of a diverse population. Saying the Pledge of Allegiance instills a sense of pride for all people.
My name is Colton Cleveland Johnson. We say the Pledge of Allegiance to start our day at school, to begin official meetings or ceremonies. And we honor the flag at special events like ball games.
We would
We'd
like to lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please
Please stand,
Thank you.
salute, pledge.
pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kids? Nalea? We appreciate it. And Colton, thank you. You got us off to a great start for our meeting. Thank you, kids. All right. Adoption of agenda.
So moved.
Second. Call the roll, please. Are we electronic or verbal?
Electronic.
Oh, okay. Look at that.
Motion carries with Councilmember Riggs marked as absent.
Thank you. Next item is proclamations and presentations. Proclamation recognizing Public Works Week of May 19th to 25th of 2024. Who's accepting? Who wants to come up?
There it is.
Shannon Montgomery.
Brian Downey, welcome. Board of Resolution 9252, the proclamation recognizing Public Works Week, May 19th to 25th of 2024. Whereas the City Board will recognize the vital role public works professionals play in maintaining our community's infrastructure and quality of life. And whereas the week of May 19th to 25th, 2024 has been designated as National Public Works Week by the American Public Works Association with the theme Advancing Quality of Life for All. And to design, build, services that our residents rely upon daily. And whereas public works professionals contribute to the safety, health, and well-being of our community by ensuring efficient roadways, wastewater systems, safe buildings, sustainable environmental practices, and quality of life for all our residents and visitors. 2024 is Public Works Week. Gratitude and appreciation to our Public Works employees for their dedication, hard work, and contributions to our community. Passed and adopted by the City of Orville on this 21st day of May 24 by the following council members and signed by the mayor of the City of Orville. Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
I'm a man of few very words, but if it wasn't for everybody here in Orange,
Thank you, guys.
we wouldn't be where we are right now. We also wouldn't be there without your support and help
That's right.
and giving us the tools and the funding to do what we do. We work hard every day.
Well said, well said.
Thank you.
I just wanted to touch on what Brian said. I would like all the Public Works employees to stand up, please. I wanted to let you know that you got Parks employees here, you got Trees employees here, you got Fleet Maintenance here, and Streets, of course. And without all of them, there wouldn't be, nothing could get done. You see 8, 10 people out there sometimes doing street repairs. Well, that's because I'm pulling the tree crew into, flagging, or the Parks crew, or I'm always complaining about our equipment to the Fleet Maintenance person, and he's working diligently to keep our stuff working. So again, I just wanted to show and let you know that we're represented well with City of Warville, and we do appreciate what you guys have allowed us to purchase, and the people that we've been able to hire. So we do thank you, and hopefully we're doing a good job for you. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Ladies and gentlemen, in orange, you're welcome to stay, but we're going to move on to the next item. Oh, Sean Weber, excuse me. Go ahead, Councilman.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on, guys. Every department that we have in the city is important. But you guys are infrastructures, our parks, our roads, and I am so proud of you. Every time I see you guys out there working, and I love it that you guys give me a hard time when I see you. I showed up in flip-flops the other day, or they were working, and they're like, how are you going to pave in flip-flops, But I love that. Yeah. I love that you guys are just working your butts off, doing the right thing for the city, and we see you, and we acknowledge it, and we honor you, and that was awesome that the mayor just gave you that proclamation. That's super cool. Thank you so much for your hard work and dedication to the city, you guys.
All right, cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Next item will be public communication, hearing of non-agenda items. Do we have any slips?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor. We'll begin with the cameraman and follow that with Shannon McGovern.
Good evening, Oroville City Council. Yes, wonderful to honor our Public Works Department members. A little joke for those who know me, filming the police and whatnot. I can say this: there's no rap song out there called "F the Public Works Department." That's for sure. So definitely appreciate what they do. Anyways, not too much to touch on tonight. Just wanted to say. Went past the Oroville Airport Day. Seemed a little bit more food truck vendor than plane, but I'm glad that event is still held regardless. It was like my 4th or 5th one, so kind of just drove past this year, and it's a little hot out, so just wasn't up to sitting out there on the runway. It gets kind of hot out there. And then our next event we had this past Saturday was mainly through Friday through Sunday, but I went on Saturday, was the Heli Fun Fly at the RC Park. Many people don't even know our city has a little RC park past the airport, so that was a really fun event to see all the many people. These aren't little little $30 helicopters you can get on Amazon. This is an expensive piece of pretty much on par with a drone almost when it comes to cost, these things. But it was amazing to see how many people came out, and these are people, just not one helicopter, but 2, 3, even a whole trailer full. So that was a pretty cool event. I think maybe a little more advertisement of things like that, and maybe a little signage showing, hey, RC Park this way, because you go up towards Wilbur Road and you see the sign for the boat launch ramp, but there's not really anything like indicating that that's kind of a thing over there. It's kind of like a little hidden secret down the dirt path. But nonetheless, I think that was a great event, and hope to get more things, diverse sports like that in our city. I think that's really great. And just finally tonight, public records request. I submitted two on, I think it was the first or the second, two requests at the same time. One of those requests was responded to, documented in this, this new portal thing we've got for public records requests. I think that's pretty great now. We can go in, actually look at our requests and, see how they're being worked on in real time, if you will. Just the other request I had, which was actually in relation to the report, the expert witness report I talked about public comment last meeting, to actually see how much the city, any pay stubs, hours billed, pretty much how much that costs to produce that report, because expert witnesses don't work for free, at least in my experience, helping pro per defendants retain them anyways. So I'm just wondering where the response is to that request. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Shannon McGovern.
Sure. Question. Oh, okay.
We
There
actually
you go.
had a great turnout at it. There was over 3,000 people that came to it. There was 15 or 20 airplanes and probably 5 to 10 helicopters that were out there. The LPO band put on a great pancake breakfast. We had a great turnout. It was a wonderful event. With all of the help from the donors that did help, it's growing and growing every year. So I invite you guys to come out there every year. It's a great opportunity to meet some pilots out there and take your kids on rides. They were offering rides for kids as well. So you can join the I think it's called the EEA, which is an Eagles something or other for the kids. They really enjoy those rides too. So thanks for the opportunity to speak on that.
Okay. Next up.
Thank you. Next up, we have Shannon McGovern.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Hi.
I know the rules. Agenda item. Okay. So one of the priorities that we have at Cal Water is to improve the lives in the communities where we live and serve. And one of the ways that we do that is we offer Emergency Operations Center training on an annual basis in Butte County. And this next one is coming up on June the 4th. And I'll make sure that you all have the flyer and that city leadership and city staff has that as well. It's something that we offer throughout all 5 of the states that we operate in and in every district in California. And we do this at no cost to participants because we are firm believers in training for emergency response, preparation, and recovery, and training together and collaborating and communication ahead of a emergency or a disaster is the best way to keep it from escalating into something much worse. So I invite you all to attend. I know that all of you serve on various different boards and committees throughout the city. I would encourage you to share this information with whoever you think would benefit from a training of this kind. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you and some of the city staff at our training on June the 4th. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have for blue cards at this
That's
moment.
it? Okay.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I'll
Yes.
say I know I attended the training last year and it was excellent. So I certainly
great.
encourage and I'll encourage staff to attend. If you haven't had a chance to do it, it's great to be prepared for those unknown situations that do arise. So they did a good job.
Well, and I would add too, that some of our service clubs have attended that during the times of a disaster, some of the service clubs want to volunteer, and it's important to them to have knowledge of the system, the terminologies, and those things that are necessary in that process. So thanks for the invitation. Next item up is council announcements and reports. I'll look to council first. Any reports to give? You already gave one on the fly-in. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I just want to thank Pee Wee as well. Again, I know we were talking about the fly-in, but I was really surprised and happy with all the work, and you could see it was just really organized. And we got to walk around and check out a bunch of planes and old cars and trailers and food and snow cones and all that kind of stuff. So it was just publicly thank Pee Wee and all those who put that on. It was just a great event. We need more like it.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes. Go ahead, Vice Mayor. Oh, excuse me, John Stones. Yes.
There you go.
I just wanted to comment on the continuum of care meeting that we just had. There are many agencies that get together regarding our vulnerable population, whether it be adults, children, and I just wanted to say that the amount of collaboration that is going on between Butte County, Chico, Oroville, just all of the different communities coming together and collaborating on ways of being able to assist the vulnerable population is amazing. They've put together an HMIS system, which all agencies that work with the vulnerable population or the homeless population, no matter what jurisdiction or what particular agency they work with, they all have the ability to go into the new HMIS system. And instead of everybody asking the same questions over and over again, they now have a centralized system where they're able to meet the needs of the various people that they work with on the first time versus having to repeatedly ask the same questions over and over again. And in fact, our system is so well, the Butte County is doing so much better than most of the other counties throughout California that many of the other counties are coming to Butte County and asking for our information on how we're doing things. So I know maybe it doesn't seem like things are happening too progressively if you're looking at the day-to-day, but I just want to say that it's happening and things are getting done. It just, there's so many different levels of care and levels of need that needs to be taken into consideration that it's not happening overnight. So I just wanted to give them a hurrah for all the work that the COC is doing.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Smith is up next in the queue.
Kudos.
I did it for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't believe June is almost here. It feels like the year just started and we're already in midpoint. That being said, Juneteenth is coming up on the 15th. I know it's celebrated as a national holiday during the midweek. However, I think in Oroville, the celebration is going to be at Martin Luther King Jr. Park on the 15th of June this year, starting at 3 o'clock. Want to bring that to everyone's attention, kind of get it on your calendar early. Additionally, I want to let everyone know we're working on raising the additional funds for the fireworks show, an Oroville tradition. We are at pledges up to about 18,000 right now, which is the minimum threshold to have a show. So we're there. So that's exciting. Some have asked why out at the Forebay. So super, super brief history. Up until 2017, it was at the lake, of course, and then we had the spillway incident. So 3 years rolling, we were out at the Forebay. Interestingly enough, years ago, many years ago, before the Rotary Club picked it up, the Exchange Club actually used to do it out at the Forebay. Those of you that have been around a long time would remember that. And so we then had, of course, the spillway incident, which then it went back 2017, 3 years out at the Forebay, back to where actually its original point was. And then after 2019, 2020 came, and we all know what happened, COVID. And it was a terrible time, and people just wanted to get out. And we were told, you can't have a fireworks show. Things are locked down. But Oroville, we're a little bit unique. Back then, Vice Mayor Thompson came up with this harebrained idea, constitutional republic. It made some people a little crazy. But we decided we're going to have a fireworks show out at our airport. And I think that by and large, Oroville was super stoked about that. And so we did that for the next couple of years. We talked about the Forebay. State Parks really wasn't ready. They were still impacted because of staffing issues. But here we are 2024. And so we are, again, looking to take it back out to both the Nelson Park, so in cooperation with Feather River Parks District. And then, of course, the other additional viewing would be on the Forebay side with the state parks. So that's kind of where we are. That's a little bit of the brief history of where we've got to where we are today. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilman Weber's up next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got a few things I would like to address. I too echo the sentiments of the fly-in being a great community event, and want to applaud Pee Wee and his efforts for organizing that event. I mean, it really drew in a nice crowd, and the fact that you're able to go out and do something like that and in unity and community and have a good time, eat some good food, see people that you know in the community. I mean, I've seen those two gentlemen right there, and we had a wonderful conversation, and it was just a great event. So, that those kind of things define who we are. I also wanted to applaud John Zilich and his crew for your efforts in getting those sidewalks done on Oro Dam. I was driving down today and I seen them all. And so I was like, that looks awesome. And that means progress because everybody knows that Oro Dam needs to be repaved, but we can't do the repaving until we get this part done. And the Caltrans is going to come in next year and we're going to a brand new corridor all the way through town. So that means that we're seeing some stuff get done. And you guys are doing a great job. So I wanted to give you a kudos for that, sir. And then also, lastly, I don't know if any of you read the paper today, but on the front page of the paper, there was a story regarding the community education workshop that we've been working on at the Oroville Community Development Coalition in conjunction with the Oroville City Elementary School District. And this is I'm going to pull this little flyer up right here. I wish I would have had the foresight to think of printing some of these up. But it says right here on this flyer that they produce where area businesses and nonprofit organizations come together for an evening of collaboration and connections, sponsored by the OCDC, the Oroville Community Development Coalition, and Oroville City Elementary School District. This is next Wednesday, the 29th at 5:30 p.m. at the Convention Center. The idea behind this is that we're going to bring a bunch of service providers together in one room and then using the vast network of email resources that Dr. Spencer Holtom has to access his students and his teachers. He's going to invite the students and the teachers that come that may be not plugged into resources that they may need. For instance, if you have a kid that wants to get involved in something, but you just don't know where to plug, it's like a plug-and-play model, in other words. The vendor's going to come, the parents are going to come, the kids are going to come, and then we're going to be able to introduce them to certain service providers in the community, like YMCA for the River Parks and Rec, and on. The Axiom, youth groups, hopefully the Rhinos football, T-Birds, different stuff like that. We have a piano teacher that wants to come and get. So this is what the idea is, to get them plugged in so we could actually get our youth plugged into certain things. At that same time that night, we're also going to be unveiling our Youth Activity Scholarship Fund, which the idea behind that in a nutshell, which will connect local donors with children in need. And the idea would be to grab money from resources. And the impetus of this, the beginning of this was having a conversation with Levi at the Axiom. And I was shocked to find out that Levi, the Axiom, had a 35 person child waiting list to get into activities up at the YMCA after school. And they could sponsor 5, and that's all they could do. Levi was actually sponsoring 3 out of his own pocket, if I remember correctly, and the Axiom was sponsoring 2. And when I walked away from that conversation thinking, wait a minute, I know we're not a super rich community. However, I know there's got to be enough money to sponsor some of these kids in these activities. So that led to a conversation with Chief Legrone, which led to a conversation with Dr. Holtom, which led to more conversations with other people. And out of that was birthed this idea that we would start this Youth Activity Scholarship Fund. And so right now I've got commitments of $7,000 from local donors to fund the account. The money's going to throw through a 501(c) nonprofit. There will be a transparency and distribution board that will oversee every single penny that comes in and every single penny that is distributed to these kids. Now, the criteria for to receive this money would be you're a child in the community that doesn't have access to these other things, and then you want to play piano, for instance, but your mom and dad can't afford to send you to piano lessons. Well, this would be an avenue by which the mom or dad or whomever, the caretaker, could say, hey, we really want to send our kid to this, but we can't afford it. And then then they could fund the lessons. So this is going to be a good event. I want to invite all the council members. I'm hoping that the mayor will come. I believe Dr. Holtom is going to reach out. I think you're going to be speaking, Mr. Mayor, I think.
Oh, okay.
I know. So I know at the beginning of it, I mean, because this is not, whoever wants to be there can be there. Invite everybody to come out in the community and check this out. It's going to be a great thing for our community. And I think it'll be a great program for our local youth to invest in them. So thank you.
Thank you. It looks like Councilman Goodson's up next in the queue.
Thank you. I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to our mayor, David Pittman, who represented the city of Oroville in such a great way. It was an honor. And this was an event that was put on by the Hmong American veterans in Yuba City. And he was asked to present a wreath and just, it was just a job well done.
Thank
I
you.
did watch it on video. So thank you. You did us proud.
All right. Anyone else on the queue? No, I'll take my turn. I'll follow up with that. It was a very good event. May 15th, we got to remember that date. That's the Hmong Memorial Day, because that's the end of the Vietnam War. And the gentlemen in the audience there were all dressed in white shirt and tan pants, and they have a story to tell. A great many of them were teenagers recruited into the secret war in the jungles of Cambodia and Thailand. So it's a great thing to do, and I was honored to be there. And then we got to place the wreath at the Memorial Park. Marysville has a very nice memorial park. I challenge you to all go look at it. I didn't know it was there. I learned a great deal. It's about a block north of the Rideout Hospital, and it's a full city block, and it's very nice. I have to admit, I was very highly impressed, and the Hmong community had really decorated the place up very nicely. So that was a great honor to be a participant with the mayor from Yuba City, supervisor from Sutter County and Yuba County, and then the chairman of the American Legion down there. So it was a very nice affair, and just something for us to remember May 15th.
May 15th.
And our resolution will come back to the next council meeting. We didn't have time to get it on here, but we'll dedicate that in the city of Oroville. The other item I wanted to give information to is I've been invited amongst the elected officials in California to attend a couple PG&E tours. The last tour was Friday last week, and we went through the Elkhorn Battery Facility at Moss Landing. And you might think, what is a battery facility? Well, it is actually a facility that has shipping container-sized batteries. There's 256 of them there, and they store unused power in the grid, and then they dispense it. And they can power about 150,000 homes out of those batteries. And it's done there because they decommissioned the Moss Landing power plant, and now there's a huge battery storage facility. Actually, it's the largest battery storage facility in the world. Part of my reason to go there is this is a technology that's coming to us all, and I learned a lot there. There's a lot to share with staff on the details of how that facility is working. It's a fascinating place, and it's kind of the way of the future, so we're all taking a good look at that and to see how that's going to play. This is a partnership between Tesla and PG&E to have those batteries there, and as you can imagine, they're having their difficulties. I'll just say that, and we'll talk more about that later. Anyone else? With that, we should move to staff comments. Administration reports.
Sure, I'll go really quick. Couple things. First of all, Butte College and the Butte County Fire Safe Council are partnering on a grant, and they'd like the city's support. If I see some head nods, essentially it's a program that would work. It works in disadvantaged communities that they are trying to seek funding that would help those in need of assessing trees that might need pruning, or frankly, some trees might need to be taken down. So it's kind of it's a three-pronged program. One is assessing trees and providing assistance in pruning or removing those. Another one is replenishing trees, where there might be areas that we need to have some trees planted. And the third part of the program is actually a training program that they want to provide for those looking to be trained and actually to be an arborist and a official tree pruner, where they can actually then go to work for municipalities like the city of Oroville or other utilities, PG&E or other contractors. So it sounds like a great program. I know we're still in the process of getting more information on it, but they do have something that's due Friday, and I think it sounds like a worthy venture for us to support, and obviously more details would come before the council if we were to enter in any agreement on that, so. Okay. That's number one. And then the second thing I wanted to touch on here, and I see our public health director is here as well, so she may be able to answer more questions if there are any. But I did want to note that, because I just saw a news blip go out, and I also have heard that Butte County Public Health is going to be pushing out a press release on a bacteria called Shigella that is reached into the community. And frankly, it's a bug that primarily impacts. Right now, it's impacting the unhoused, unfortunately, primarily because it has to do with cleanliness and the, it's a, there's no nice way of saying this, but it's spread through fecal matter, and if it gets on your hands and then you're sharing food, and that's how it's spread. So cleanliness, washing your hands are some of the key things to stop the spread. The city learned about this. Danette York called us on Friday, and she was fantastic and gave us information on what the city can do. And we deployed some hand washing stations on Saturday, the shower truck on the weekend as well, to help those, obviously, if it's in their clothes or in their bedding, to help assist with getting through this. OPD was busy all weekend handing out flyers on the information to those that might be impacted by it. Recently, code enforcement spent a couple hours this morning working out in the community, partnering with folks from the mental health and Butte County Public Health and Behavioral Health, just to try to get information out to those that are impacted by it. And if they're having symptoms, here's some things you can do. So it's a bug that it's kind of a targeted population, so it hasn't been widely known. But I did want to pass some information on now, since obviously I saw it on the news media, and there was a press release going out. I'm not sure if there's anything else you wanted to share. No pressure at all.
Yeah, please, come up. Yeah.
Good evening, Danette York, Director of Butte County Public Health. I just, first of all, want to say thank you to the city of Oroville, who has really stepped up to support this. A couple points I wanted to just remind everybody, especially the audience and any listeners, is Shigella is a bacteria, and it causes illness when it's ingested into the human body. It does come from fecal matter. So Brian was trying to be very nice about it, but essentially if someone is sick, uses the bathroom, doesn't wash their hands, touches a door handle, someone else can come behind them, touch that door handle, put their hand in their mouth, and it can get into their body. It is such a minute amount of the material, you cannot see it with the visible eye. So only thing people can do is extra precautions. Universal precautions works. Wash your hands. Soap and water is best. Hand sanitizer is next. The other important thing I want to share is anybody can get it. This is not people experiencing homeless disease. Unfortunately, they are higher risk, along with a few other populations, due to their circumstances, not because of who they are. So again, Public Health, Department of Employment and Social Services Home Branch, City of Oroville, several community-based organizations working together to get the information out to the population. We handed out care packages today. I just dropped off a box of hand sanitizer for Brian over in the office, so it'll be there so his code enforcement officers can share that. Just everything we can do to educate the people and help them understand that they can help stop the spread. As of right now, we have 9 cases that we know about. Some are actually hospitalized. It can run its course, so to speak. If someone is pretty healthy, they can get this, have diarrhea for about 7 days, and get better on their own. But if they are immune compromised or have underlying conditions, it can make them be hospitalized and cause serious issues with dehydration, et cetera. I can try to answer any questions.
Councilman Goodson has a question.
I don't have a question. Yesterday we had our NAACP monthly community meeting. And so prior to, Susie Chafin, who works for Public Health, is usually one of our community partners. She wasn't able to be there. I reached out to her. I think the slang term is shuga. Shuga.
Yeah.
Bacteria. And so you called me. So, and you provided me with essential information in a snapshot, and I appreciate that. Those in the Zoom meeting greatly appreciated that
Great.
information too. So I just wanted to personally thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. One other thing I'll just note is we didn't do a press release when we first found this. It started on Friday. evening. Of course, everything happens on a Friday afternoon, right?
Yeah.
But the general population has a pretty low risk of getting this disease. All you have to do is wash your hands, right? So what we did instead was targeted education and outreach to the impacted population. The reason we did a press release today is because the media found out and they reached out to us, and so we responded, answered their questions, and went ahead and did a press release so that people don't panic. And hopefully our press release got that information out, that it is a low risk. There's very easy ways to, easy precaution methods to protect yourself, and it will prevent the spread and protect individuals from getting it outside of whoever has it right now. We did thank you for allowing us to go out into the field with the code enforcement officers. Our disease investigators were able to interview 17 people. Out of those 17, 13 said they've been ill. So the 9 that we know about is the tip of the iceberg, because like I said, the majority of people will be sick, but be able to let it run its course and get better on their own. So it's definitely out there in the community, and we want to stop it as quickly as we can. Thank you.
Yeah.
I do have a question. It's my understanding, are you partnering with Haven of Hope on Wheels? Pastor
Actually, you
Kevin
are.
Thompson?
Actually, you are, as the city, are partnering with them.
Okay.
Yes,
And are
they're
there
an amazing
designated-
organization, and they were
Absolutely.
quick to, I don't want to speak for you, Brian, but I think they were quick to say, yes, absolutely. They came out over the weekends and strategically placed their
That's what I wanted
trailers
to
so
know.
that we could get people showered, and, really encouraging people to make sure they launder their, like, sleeping bags and any type of linens that they use too, because it can be such a small amount that you can't see and still spread it.
Councilman Johnstone has a question.
Thank you. Did you say it was a viral infection?
It's bacteria.
Bacterial, so there's not any kind of antibiotics?
There
or-
is,
okay.
actually. So if they are bad enough that they seek care,
Severe.
severe enough that there is antibiotics that they can be provided.
Okay.
There's been several people that presented at the hospital. There's been some that's been picked up by EMS, because they can also get a fever really bad and not even know what's going on. And so if they are that bad, they're admitted to the hospital and treated with antibiotics, typically through IV.
Okay, so, and is this being told to, when they're going out and seeking them out, their
Yes.
symptoms come, they can?
Yes, we have several handouts, and one of them is a flyer-like material that shows what to watch for. So the symptoms, and then to make sure they seek care, once they feel like that it's not going to get better on its own.
Okay, thank you.
I'll share with you too, I know a number of eating establishments that have outdoor seating have redoubled their cleaning efforts more than they did before. So it's good to get the word out to the eating establishments, and we appreciate that, so.
Yeah, we're lucky we have environmental health under our public health department, so I just called up the division director and said, hey, notify all the eating establishments
Good.
in the area, because food is one way that it can definitely spread if they're not careful.
In particular, any of those that have outdoor seating.
Yes.
That's population would probably use, so.
Absolutely.
It's important that they know it, and I know they're responding very well. I know that personally, and so.
Great.
Yeah, and I'll say this, the Haven of Hope, the trailer was parked on the corner of Montgomery and Feather River this weekend, and we moved it strategically today to the South Oroville Community Center because there's a population up there where we saw a lot more symptoms. So that's what we're trying to be strategic in where it's deployed. I talked to Pastor Thompson this afternoon, and we'll reassess. I want to see how much it's used,
Sure. Yeah.
and we'll see where we deploy it. We're probably going to deploy it for at least a couple more days, and hopefully to help stop this from spreading.
Well, we thank you for our partnership on public health.
Well, I thank you too. Really appreciate the city helping us. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, any more administration reports that might be a little more integrated?
I have a quick one.
Yes, go ahead.
So last week we had, was it last week? We had the Civic 101 Public Works edition, and Fred and Wade did a fantastic job. It was really just spot on, and there's a few members There were 10 in attendance that are here tonight. I think everyone would agree. It was a really great look into Public Works. He thought it would take less than 45 minutes or so, and I said, you'll need every bit of the hour and a half, and he did right through it. There's so much to talk about Public Works, you just almost can't have enough time to cover that subject. So, thanks, Fred.
Thank you, Pat.
Councilman Johnstone, question?
Yeah, real quick, is there any thoughts about maybe videotaping these and putting these on the website, maybe, for education?
I think next year we'll do that. I probably should have done it this year, but it'll take another person to actually film because we move around while we're talking, so we couldn't just have a stable camera. But also wanted to work out, go through a run with a small group and kind of work it all out. So next year we'll look at doing a video for it.
I think that would be
You're not the
fabulous.
first person to ask that.
All right. Any other department head reports? Looking over here? No? We're good to go then. All right, well, we appreciate that, and I appreciate all the information brought forward. Tracy, you back up on the queue, or? Okay, all right. Next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. I would entertain any motions for the consent calendar or any item that the council wish to pull. Do we have any cards on the consent item?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
Okay,
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
okay, let's call the roll, please. Thank you all. Regular business, number 6.
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yes, sir.
We did have public hearings that were scheduled to start at 5:15.
Oh, okay.
If we can jump to those, we'll come back to the regular item.
Well, then let's call a public hearing. So noted at 5:26 hours. The first one is number 9. Public hearing on the Feather River Recreational Park District Nexus Fee Study and proposed fee increases.
Yes, I will kick this off, and I think it's going to be rather short. So we started this discussion back in December, and we've continued it a couple times. But I will say we've had a number of meetings with Feather River Rec and Park District and their interim general manager, Brian Wilson, and he's been extremely receptive to the concerns that were raised by the city, and he's taken it back to his board, and they have decided to pull this item right now because of a lot of the concerns I think that were raised by the executive committee, and reassess things, and I think that gives us time to work with the Feather River Parks District and the city to try to find some synergies here. Again, as some of the issues were raised, obviously we both have our own parks, and they're both, how much do we truly need? And we both have these values. So ultimately, they're going back. I don't want to say going back to the drawing board completely, but they're pulling this for now, and it'll likely return at some point in the future. But so there's really no action. You can certainly open the hearing, but there's going to be no action requested tonight.
Okay, well, the hearing's open. Do we have any comments?
None submitted, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Then we'll move on to item number 10. Item number 10 is the second reading of the zoning code amendment, ZC 24-02, changing the section's title from second dwelling units to accessory dwelling units and amending the municipal code section 17.16.010. Welcome, Wes.
Our city attorney would like to kick this off. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
So there was a recent case in Redondo Beach involving charter cities in which SB 9 was found to be unconstitutional. And SB 9 is the mandatory ADU and dividing of parcels and multifamily dwellings on single-family zoned parcels that had been passed by the state. So a number of the provisions in our amended municipal code sections are driven by the mandatory nature of things that are in SB 9. And given the outcome of the Superior Court case in Redondo Beach versus Rob Bonta, our recommendation is that we, review the portions of this at the staff level and bring it back to you instead of proceeding with the mandatory pieces that are there that flow from SB 9. That only applies to charter cities, but of course, we are in full support of the council's legislating in the home rule area, and that's the nature of the writ reversal in the Redondo Beach case. So we would like to not move forward on this at the moment until we can come back to you with revisions that take out the mandatory items.
I was just in a meeting with 2 other mayors, and they are doing the same thing because of the Redondo Beach issue. So it's it didn't provide a lot of clarity to the ruling, so I appreciate that.
Yes.
Wes?
Thank you.
So if it's the pleasure of the council, we'll take that back to staff level and bring it back with the appropriate changes.
Absolutely.
That
Thank
works
you.
for me. Thank you.
Works for me.
Thank you.
All right, so that hearing is closed. Item number 11 in this public hearing is the second reading of the zoning change, ZC 24-03, amending municipal code sections 1716-150, 1732-010, 1734-020, and 1736-010 regarding mobile food vendors. Wes?
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yes, sir.
Did we get a motion on that, on number 10, on that public hearing with the ADUs?
Do we need a motion
We
for
need
that?
a motion? Mr. Ritchie, do we need a motion on that to?
Number 10,
to
to
continue?
table
and-
it?
And table it? We're good?
Okay.
Staff
We're-
direction?
Table it.
Okay,
Yep,
thank you.
Staff direction. Looking for that to come back prior to, with the recent court ruling. Item number 11, Wes, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, assembled public. This ordinance revises Oroville's mobile food truck ordinance and adds a permit process for food truck villages, which currently are not regulated. As you recall, you discussed this ordinance on February 6th and asked staff to research existing food trucks, make recommendations that would avoid conflicts with existing brick and mortar restaurants, especially along State Route 162. Staff has done that research, discussed options several times, and makes the following recommendations for this ordinance. For individual food trucks, this ordinance keeps the existing administrative permit process and adds several geographic restrictions. To avoid potential competitive conflicts, this ordinance would allow no new permits along Highway 162. That would include Oro Dam Boulevard and Olive Highway. The 6 existing food trucks that are permitted on Oro Dam Boulevard and the 3 on Olive Highway could remain, thus establishing a baseline of existing trucks on these roadways. All existing food truck ordinances, permits, would expire 180 days after the adoption of this ordinance. That means every food truck would have to reapply in 6 months after this ordinance becomes effective. New individual food trucks would have to set up at least 500 feet. These are in addition to the 9 that would be grandfathered in. 500 feet from Highway 162, that's essentially one parcel deep along the highway. 500 feet from a existing brick and mortar restaurant, unless it was co-owned by the same restaurant owner. 500 feet from other vendors, 500 feet from the downtown historic overlay, so that means no new food trucks in the downtown, and 500 feet from residential zones. So that's our recommendation for individual food trucks. Regarding mobile food vendor villages, that's of 2 or more trucks, the ordinance would authorize up to 3 mobile food vendor villages. Do you have the up to 3 mobile food vendor villages spaced 1 mile apart. This essentially allows one at Nelson at Home Depot, one on Olive Highway above Big O Tires there, one on South Feather near Walmart. These are places where established trucks do exist or have indicated their interest, and possibly out by the airport if one didn't get established in one of these other locations. Staff recommends not allowing a village in the highway commercial zone. That's at the very top of the map at Garden Drive up there. There's nothing up there. We don't think there'd be any interest, and that is slated for as highway commercial for future gas stations and other intensive commercial, highway-oriented retail. Multiple food trucks would continue to be allowed as they are now when placed temporarily in conjunction with a special event or festival, something like that. Villages would have to obtain use permits prior to establishment, so that would be a planning commission review and approval. The site plan for a village would show truck locations and egress and parking accommodations and where tables and benches and things like that would be put. So all those things would be reviewed beforehand. They would comply with the city's parking ordinance unless modified by the use permit. So Lark McNeil of Interwest Consulting, she's the one that has drafted virtually all of this and has consulted with staff on this. She is available here on Zoom for questions or to add anything that I have not mentioned that's critical, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Wes. I see Vice Mayor Smith is on the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For clarity, so these 6 current operators and then the 3, 6 months from now, they're going to have to reapply. So I'm kind of thinking in terms of like ABC, for example, there's a limit on saturation for alcohol sales. So that's why these permits become worth a lot of money, essentially.
Potentially,
liquor,
yes.
your liquor license, right? So are we kind of are we setting up a similar situation? Do these folks then have the right then in their renewal process to hold that and then or sell that? Maybe just break that down a little bit, exactly what that looks like. Or are we reserving the right then to say after 6 months and then we don't renew you, then we're kind of done with that, those 6 in that corridor? Just maybe, if I'm making sense, kind of break that down and bring some clarity there for us.
Well, my assumption there would have been that the 9 whose permits would expire there would be reapplications on a first come, first served basis.
So when you say that, are they the first in line, or then it's just expires and then is it a lottery, or what's that look like?
Well, that's a good question. We haven't set that up, so we haven't thought that through.
So that kind of threw me too, because you said, I'm going to have to paraphrase, pre-existing vendors are grandfathered in. So to me, that's a permanent.
The 9 spaces would be grandfathered in, yeah.
But then in 6 months, they have to abide by the same application process as anybody else. So they're able to temporarily stay where they are for 6 months. Okay.
Jen, if I could just clarify, these mobile food vendors are on private properties. So if the property owner says, hey, we want you here, then they're going to be able to get a permit to be there. It's not like an alcoholic beverage control permit where you own it and you can resell it. It doesn't work that way. So these guys are not in public spaces, they're on private property. So it's the business owner that allows them to be there. They're the ones that are going to allow for them to get the permit if it's available.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Are you in the queue?
Mr. Smith, are you back in the queue?
I am.
Okay.
I hear what you're saying, but I think the way the ordinance is written, it may not actually work out that way, because if we're saying there's 9 allowed licenses, now we're setting a limit. And even though it's on private property, there's now a number set. And then now we don't have a process then for those folks to renew that, or it then becomes, so we haven't fully thought that through. So then there is a potential value and or who says who then can apply for that. I think we haven't gotten across the finish line on fully writing this, potentially, because it seems like there's a little bit of a problem there. Or did I not understand it correctly?
Like,
Like
they have
because I think we need
priority?
to get that
I
complete.
think, if I may, I know one of the comments that was made at the prior public hearing was to try to come up with a number in order to respect the brick and mortar businesses, so that to kind of have some sort of competition that's balanced. So I believe the number that we came up with was based upon the existing ones there. If there's a suggestion and I think some do tip customarily, they might have a process now where they might leave the area, and then obviously that opens up a vacancy. But certainly if there's a desire to look into increasing that from 9 to 10, I mean, again, the idea I think there was what we had right now seemed to be an adequate amount, but
Just to say, I'm comfortable with the number. I'm fine with the number. I'm looking for the process,
process.
for
Yeah.
that renewal, and then who
Absolutely.
has the right then to renew, and or does it, again, back to, is it a lottery, or because I'm there and I have been permitted, then I can then now reapply, up it again. And I was thinking the 6 months was set for, I've been there for X amount of time, and now I'm thinking about moving on, and so that'll open it up to someone else. But man, if it's super lucrative, then there becomes a value to that permit. Kind of like going back to the liquor license example. So I
If
just think that we
it's-
need to figure out that process. What's that look like?
And make it fair and equitable.
Well, if it's the pleasure of the council, we can give the existing food trucks there the first right of refusal on those spaces.
There you go.
And then,
How that would work.
and then if the space becomes open, it could be filled on the first come, first served basis, subject to the property owners.
Yeah, you have to understand,
approval.
it's on private property.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
You're not gonna get.
They're
the
gonna
right-
make the decision whether they want a food truck
Okay.
there or not.
Yeah.
The private property owner, we're not gonna tell the private property owner, hey, we gave them a permit, you have to allow them to be there.
Right, but thinking this through, what if we had 50 private property owners all saying, hey, sign us up, but we only have 9? So that's what I'm talking about. I get that. I understand perfectly, it's perfectly clear. Yeah, obviously the property owner has to be involved in that process.
And the 9 are based on how they are spaced out along the 162 corridor, or dam and Olive
And
Highway.
one of the reasons we did that, we already have a traffic problem on that roadway. We don't want another one. So
Right.
that's why we started this conversation.
And again, that
Yeah.
doesn't stop a private property owner from saying, hey, I bought my own food truck, I'm putting it
True,
on my
true,
property.
Yeah. Councilman Johnstone's on the queue.
So this will, so we're allowing the 9 already established food trucks to stay where they're at. Once their permit expires, they're gonna get first right of refusal to stay where they're at. We're not gonna be allowing any other food trucks to be set up anywhere along Highway 162, but they do have the option for one of the villages. Correct? Is that what we're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
The red dots on there are the Google showing where all of the brick and mortar restaurants are on Google. There are some missing up on Table Mountain and some other places, but that's where the concentrations are. So
And
yes.
do we know at this point, how many, and I might have read it in here, do we know how many food trucks we're allowing at any of those, all of those locations? I know we only have the one established right now by Home Depot, right?
Yes, and it's not permitted yet either, so.
That will depend on the size, there'll be traffic flow that'll have to be considered. They'll still have to do some ADA parking and so there'll be a lot of things that can consider. And then, once those things are all considered, that will dictate how many trucks can actually be
parked
allowed.
there.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
That particular property owner has advertised for up to 6 food trucks at that location.
Councilman Weber's on the queue.
Thank you. So I think Councilmember Johnstone was just touching on what I was, and what you're talking about, Vice Mayor Smith, is the total number then we got right now are 9 permitted, right? And then what would be the ultimate, is it just open-ended on how many we could put in there, or?
It's in the food truck villages?
Yeah, well, that and totally, so, because I thought we had a discussion when we first started this where we were talking about like putting a cap on how many to not immerse our city with, 75 of them.
The cap's on 162.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
That's
haven't,
it?
we
Not
haven't added a cap citywide as of yet, so.
Okay, so, all right. Okay, and then my next question is, how are we gonna regulate them? Is that through you? Okay, and so is that gonna include, the tent operators?
So,
Those aren't mobile.
Yeah, we go out with
Yeah, but they prep
public
their food on
health.
site, and they're not
Yeah,
supposed to.
we go out in public health and deal with the tent operators.
Yeah.
That's who
Okay.
we deal with. We're dealing with one, we have one left that, pops up
Well, they're moving
in
now.
various areas.
Yeah, they're moving.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see
They're-
them in Marysville.
Okay, but that's gonna be part of what you're gonna do with this though, right?
We've been dealing with the
Sure.
pop-up
Okay.
operations.
And then what about, my next question would be like checking the commissary, like, okay, so obviously we gotta make sure, because the whole point of this is that we're trying to build a, guardrails, right, for safe operation for operators, because what we want in our community is good operators, right? We don't want fly-by-night operators that are gonna, serve up something that's gonna be contaminated by whatever through a bad process of cooking it. So, and that's why the tent operators are so scary, because you and I were talking about that the other day. That dude pulled that big old chunk of meat out and started hacking it right on the table right in front of me, and I'm thinking, that ain't sanitary, And so as far as commissaries, I know that they're supposed to have a legitimate commissary where they prep their food.
Yeah, they have licensing through public health, so they go out and get their food handler's permit. They go through all that process in order, and we check for that as well.
Okay.
So-
Will you be doing, with this ordinance, will you be able to enter into the food truck and do inspections on their, like,
Public health. I couldn't enter into a food truck, or nobody on my team could and say that's sanitary or not
But
sanitary.
public
We're
health
not
can?
trained to do, yeah, we take
Okay, are
public
you gonna be
health out of
collaborating
this.
with them on that?
Yeah, we
Okay.
have been for about the last 6 months.
Okay,
Before
and
they
then,
get in,
I had an observation on this, Olive Highway location. That, in my opinion, has a very bad approach. Okay, so one way, it'd be easy to get in, to leave the other way, just my opinion. So I would hope we'd weigh that out, because it's on a curve. You're talking, that's up beyond, on the curve where they put the rocks in?
No, it's not that far
Or,
up,
or is it,
actually.
it's in between the old People's Real Estate and the tow yard?
Yeah, where the red barbecue truck is set up right now.
That's where Rashes is, okay.
That's where we figure, but an application could come in for where the rocks are, up by the mini
Yeah.
storage, yeah. It could-
Okay,
it-
so this is down the road further then?
Yeah,
Okay, it still presents a problem, but, because there's all that cross-traffic right there.
turning left on.
And then the last thing I wanted to ask about was point of sale. The other thing we were concerned with is, are we gonna be able, can we mandate that they use credit card payment as well? Because a lot of them, when you walk up, it's cash only. Well, cash only, the problem with that is we don't capture the sales tax, right? So,
We're assuming we don't,
Huh?
They might turn in, we don't know if they turn
Oh,
or not, but
you're right.
and US currency is still, you can still use that. We can't control that. We can't force them to do point of sale. We've looked into that. It's not, and that's the same you would have to say for every business in Orville. We're not gonna allow you to take cash anymore. Whether you get your hair cut, whether it's another
no,
restaurant.
that's not what I'm saying. Cash and credit.
But I'm saying you can't force them to do credit only.
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
Saying both. Because right now, most of them are cash only.
And it's still legal tender, and we can't control that. I will tell you that you can look into it, we can look into it, but you're not gonna be able to control that.
We can ask for their best honesty.
Yeah.
Well, they're
Yeah.
required, they're still required to file,
Right.
but whether they do is,
Okay.
yeah, it's a,
Sick
they don't want to
bed
lose that
on.
revenue.
Yeah, easy to hide.
Yeah. All right. Councilman, Vice Mayor Smith, are you back on the queue?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so just another moment of a little more clarity, because these are mobile food units, and to Councilman Weber kind of bringing it up, for lack of a better term, rogue operators. We have all seen them, the Tamale Man and others, which does raise a certain amount of concern for public health, and we just heard there are concerns. So does this ordinance touch on that? Because I've actually reached out and had some conversations with the county regarding that. And then I've actually had some discussions with Ron as well about working more cohesively with the county when it comes to regulating that industry. So with this ordinance, is that going to add to kind of where our code enforcement is at in kind of beginning to clamp down a little bit on some of these operators that clearly are not, I say clearly, one would assume that there's probably some questions or concerns about their licensing and where they stand, and is that going to help kind of consolidate who can be where and when?
So there's already laws and ordinances in place for individuals, pop-up vendors. These are mobile food vendors that pop up. We had 17 of them in our city limits, and we're down to dealing with 3. So we go out regularly with public health. They are great to work with. They're great. They're very knowledgeable. And, so we have really cracked down on that. This ordinance is completely separate from that. There's, like I say, there's already state laws in place and ordinances in place to enforce that.
But I would imagine this kind of helps sharpen the pencil a little bit, I'm sure,
And
because it's kind of in
also-
that industry.
Mentioned touching on, as part of the application process, we do require the health inspection certificate. We require them to tell us where their commissary is going to be. We require them to provide written property owner permission to be at that location, and a few other things as well. So those would all, and for the villages, when the application forms are put together, we would definitely require them to make sure every single truck has the proper permits and commissary placement and everything else. So we would be requiring that as well. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no more questions apparently on this particular topic, it is a public hearing. Do we have any cards for this hearing?
I have none received, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Well, thank you. What's the pleasure of the council? There's a
I
recommendation here.
move that we approve the second reading.
Do a little more conversation. Do we need to add some language, though? First right of refusal for those 9 spaces?
It was our intention to give them first right of refusal.
Yeah.
And we, as Ron pointed out, they're on private property. The private property owner is the one that has to approve that. So another company that wants to come in there would not just be able to get past us without that property owner providing that approval. And more than likely, they're going to be improving the one that's already there.
Fair.
Okay.
And
That
if the
being
property
said,
owner
we
wanted
have-
to change, we would have to allow them to change. We wouldn't.
So you handle it by ministerial issue. We've got a motion. I'll entertain a second.
A second.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Motion carries.
Thank you all. Thank you, staff. Long deleterious ordinance to put forward, but I think we have a great product now. Item number 12 is still within the public hearing time, but we're going to call a public hearing for the California Water Service fluoridation issue. The council will consider the California Water Service should continue the required addition of fluoride to the drinking water that is provided to its customers within the city of Oroville. Brian, go ahead.
Sure, I'll kick it off really quick. I know this has been an item that has been discussed at the council on a couple of occasions. I know I've had a couple of conversations with Lonnie with Cal Water as well. So personally, I know that just in my own research, it's an interesting subject, and I think we'll hear that tonight because if you, depending on who you talk to, there are potential benefits to fluoridation and there are potential concerns to fluoridation. So whether or not the city wishes to continue to require that Cal Water does that, because this was started back in 1954, where the city made a request to the PUC to mandate that Cal Water supply water with fluoride in it. And frankly, I think Lonnie's going to talk about this, but there are regulations that still require that today if you have a certain number of customers and if you have a public funding source for that. So again, I think a lot's changed since 1954, so I think the idea here was to revisit the topic, get some public input, and see what direction the council wished to proceed on this. And I know Lonnie had some information to share from Cal Water.
Welcome, Lonnie.
Thank you, and thank you folks for inviting me down here tonight to be able to talk about this. So I have a little bit of history for you. My name is Lonnie Lind. I'm the local manager at Cal Water. Next slide, please. Our drinking water, as you know, there are 3 water entities here in town. We are bordered mostly by the Feather River, the southern eastern portion of it that is city that's technically city. So we're a lot of downtown, a little tiny bit into the hills, but mostly downtown and south side and our industrial area. We have 52 miles of main, 2.5 million gallons of storage, and we pull from the same water that Thermalito does, from the Thermalito Water Canal that comes from underneath Cal Water. We have a handful of wells, and we can talk about PFAS anytime you want. It's a hot topic around right now. We've been testing for 5 years, and it's a very real concern. But we also have interties with neighboring agencies, about 3,500 service connections, where treatment operators protecting customer health and safety is our highest priority. Next. Fluoride is naturally occurring in soil, but not in the human body. It's readily dissolved in water, and it can be uptaken by plants. So things that may be high in fluoride, tea, because you're cooking it with water, but it's also pretty prevalent in tea leaves. Technically, it replaces an ion in hydroxyapatite. That's the part of your enamel that keeps your enamel strong. Hydroxyapatite is more readily dissolved in acid, so bacteria can dissolve it, create cavities, and fluoroapatite is a little bit stronger. It also becomes more brittle, but as a compound, this is odorless, colorless, and it's toxic at high concentrations. Thanks. So a little bit of history. In 1909, from 1909 to 1944, they observed an inverse correlation. So as brown teeth increased, they saw that cavities decreased. And fluorosis is fluoride at high concentrations, which is way higher than anything we would ever add to the water. But at high concentrations, you end up with brown stained teeth and almost no cavities. In 1914, fluoride was added to toothpaste, but it wasn't marketed until 1956 as anti-cavity. That was Crest's first big go. 1945 to 1955, there were 3 cities that were elected to pilot water fluoridation. I know one was in Michigan. I'm not sure about the others. But in 1954, the city of Oroville asked Cal Water to fluoridate. If you read the paperwork around that time, it sounds like there were some personalities flying back and forth. I would love to be a fly on the wall of both groups, frankly. Cal Water said no thank you at the time, and only a bare 2 months later, the city of Oroville and Butte County petitioned the CPUC to require Cal Water to add fluoride to the water. In 1957, that decision was passed, and the second that decision was passed, we had a certain amount of time to add the infrastructure, add the fluoride, and begin fluoridating according to the public health requirements. We have been adding fluoride ever since. Next. Thanks. So the rule was actually added in 1962. Oroville City Council was a little bit ahead of the game, and EPA added the fluoridation rule after that. As it stands, this is actually pulled out of the California. So California is considered a primacy agency for the EPA. They regulate on behalf of the EPA, and this is one of the rules that's in the California Code that governs us as a water purveyor with regard to fluoride that's taken from the EPA. So it requires that any public water system with 10,000 service connections or more, we have 3,500, that doesn't have a system in place shall add fluoridation if the state board identifies a source of sufficient funds. So the idea is that larger cities are required to fluoridate if public funding is found for them. There's currently a waiting list that's available on the DDW on the California State website that lists out the order that cities will add fluoride in if funding becomes available. I think Chico is number 149. We're not on the list because there are 3,500 service connections here, plus we already fluoridate. So go ahead. This is just an example. So I am a water quality nerd. I know some of the ins and outs of the water quality of each of these water systems up here. And a lot of them, I think you would be surprised to know, every blue dot up there, so LA County, San Diego County, Ventura County, Riverside County, those all look like a bunch of separate water systems. They are one. That's one water system, Metropolitan of LA, that produces that water, and a bunch of these others have interconnections with them. And so anytime they turn on the tap, they're considered fluoridated, anytime they turn on an interconnect. You'll see we are the only ones in Butte County. The website at the state is a little bit out of date. City of Gridley voted to have their fluoridation removed a couple of years ago, 2, 3, do you know? Something like that. So we are the last holdout in Butte County of folks adding fluoride to their water systems. There is another page of these also. This was just an example, so another page of these on the state website. Okay. So why are we here? Cal Water, just to be really clear, Cal Water will continue to fluoridate as long as we're required to. That PUC decision that was put in place in 1957, we will meet that requirement for as long as it stands. And we will absolutely be committed to providing a reliable source of clean, healthy water for our customers no matter what. But I have had customers call, especially in the last 5 years, averaging about one a month. It seems that they go in spurts sometimes, and expressing concerns, wanting to know what it takes to remove the fluoride from their water. It's very expensive. That's a very expensive treatment process. It's a lot easier to add it than to remove it. And some of their expressed concerns were that this is a pharmaceutical dose, and I want to be able to choose whether this is in my water. So we're bringing this to you so that you can hear and see if you'd like to go a different direction or not. Go ahead. In our court right now, from what we can see, and there may be additions to all of these things. Cons, on a very direct basis, cavities may increase, dental bills may increase. Pros, the fluoride becomes optional instead of mandated. That's pros according to the customers who called making those concerns. And the cost savings directly right now would be very, very small. Customers wouldn't see much change in costs right away. However, I will say that chemical costs are going through the roof. Right now, they are increasing about like this. And I don't think it'll be very long before folks start to see a real increase in the cost of fluoride added to water. Cal Water isn't necessarily neutral in this. As I said, we are committed to offering and keeping reliable, high-quality drinking water for our folks, and we will do that no matter what comes out of tonight. But we thank you guys for hearing us. Next. I think that's about it. Yeah, it is.
Thank you, Lonnie.
Do you have any
Very good
questions?
presentation, and I will preface this because this discussion has happened in the past, and I actually was very incorrect because I was told that it was actually an election of the people that required this, and it was not. Lonnie and staff have discovered that it was just a choice of the city council. It was not an elected body, so I stand corrected on that issue. And that's one of the reasons why we didn't look at this, 10, 15 years back.
Sure.
So thank you for researching the topic because it clearly surprised me as being around the city a long time. It was just told it was election in 57 and da-da-da. Well, it's not accurate at all. So Vice Mayor Smith has a question.
Yeah, Lonnie, appreciate the presentation. So in your research,
Yes.
in modern times, because I'm sure things were quite different in the 50s.
A lot has changed in 70 years.
A lot. And, obviously dental care and our public awareness and what it takes to maintain your teeth in good working order. So has there been any recent studies in comparative of cities that fluoridate and then those that don't? And is there any appreciable difference in outcomes when it comes to dental health care?
That is a great question, which I am not qualified to answer. We are water professionals and water treatment professionals and really good at making water safe to drink. I'm not a public health expert in terms of medical research and things like that. So you need to
And
find
then
that information
there
out
is
elsewhere.
there is a report on the Department of Drinking Water, DDW, I believe, that I looked at it. I think it's within the last 5 years, but it's still there. They still say that there's support that this does still prevent tooth decay.
And then the other piece to that, since it looks like a city administrator might know a few things too, when it comes, on the public health side. So has there been any correlations or studies that show that fluoride potentially is a health concern? I mean, a lot of people in our, modern times are concerned about chemicals, and they're everywhere. Just look at a package of processed food. That's a whole nother conversation. But, so, I mean, clearly, people want to have the option, and it sounds like if it's in the water, that's not practical, barring going out and buying bottled water.
It is
But-
expensive to remove from water once it's in the water.
So that's not really a viable option for most folks. So is there any studies to suggest that there's any downside to fluoride as far as, harmful?
Yeah, the only, I have not, and again, I did a lot of research, 'cause I've tried to present this as much information as I can, but the only research I found was that if it goes in excess of whatever the level is that is prescribed, because I believe it has to be a very minute amount that has to be infused, for no better term, or with the water. But I have not seen anything. But with that said, I know I did peruse through some public comments that were supplied to this meeting, which had some articles in there that I have not had a chance to read yet, but did have some concerns noted in there. But I wasn't able to find anything.
Brittle brown teeth, but no cavities.
And that's it.
That's what I heard.
Over fluoride, yeah.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to comment a couple items. In my personal research, there's all kinds of things that I will note that we have at least 8 different email contributions to us council members for this meeting, and they're wide all the way, and they do suggest a number of studies that are there. I'd like to break this down to a real simple idea. Fluoride has a pretty fair improvement to dental hygiene as a contact to your teeth. There's very little evidence that drinking it has any good benefit whatsoever. And I did my own little study of toothpaste on the shelf at the grocery store the other day. Every toothpaste on there has fluoride in it. And back in 1954, I can almost guarantee they didn't have it in toothpaste. So it's available for dental hygiene. It works great. It's just not a good item to be ingesting in your body, from my take of what I've read about. The other thing is, it really concerned me as I heard a dentist was prescribing fluoride for a small child because of tooth decay. And before he could make the prescription for the fluoride, he had to find out what level of fluoride was being delivered in this water. That kind of concerned me, that, all right, a doctor has to find out how much is in the water we're drinking and then adjust his prescription to that child. That bothers me. I mean, and the prescription obviously is for, contact with the teeth. So my simpleness is here, it's not something we should be drinking. Certainly has an effect for your dental hygiene, and I appreciate the dentists that have contributed to this. But there's enough studies here to really drive you nuts. I like the idea of letting the public have their own choice. By us demanding that it be in the water, they don't really have a choice of using the water or not. So I would prefer, in my world of thinking about this, it should be the person's choice whether they want to have fluoride at that level in their body, and not us directing that. I don't think we're that good, frankly. So that's my comments. I think Councilman Johnson was. Okay. Do we have any public cards?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. First, I'll begin by reading the
Oh,
electronic
excuse me,
public comment.
Councilman Thompson's in the queue. I missed him.
No,
okay.
it's okay, yeah. I am, unless the state is requiring, even still, I'm definitely against fluoride in our water. Happy when this is over.
Thank you, sir. Yes, public comment cards.
Yes, I'll begin by reading the electronic names into the record first, and then we'll begin by taking the people who are here today. Received electronically, we have a comment from Nis Koff, Carol Kopf, Phil Cotton, Jenny Miller, Evangeline Yida, Brent Parrott, and Eric. And here to speak, we'll begin with Angela Martin and follow it with Cecilia Canalia.
Okay, come on up. Welcome.
It's becoming that time. My name is Angela Martin. I work as a program manager for Butte County Public Health. I've worked there for 7 years. I oversee several programs, and one of them is the oral health program. The oral health program started in 2018. We service several schools throughout most of the south side of Butte County, and that is due to the percentages of the schools that qualify for the free reduced lunches. That is our target areas to meet that area of need. Our oral health program has an advisory committee, which is our oral health advisory, and it consists of school nurses, federally qualified health centers, dental professionals, Head Start, Smile California, and First Five. I wanted to come here today. We just found out about this yesterday. So I would love to have the opportunity to come back and provide some more information about the topic and invite some specialists and scientists to come back and educate or provide education more. So today I'm just simply going to provide a couple of facts from the CDC and the ADA, which is the Center for Disease Control. The community water fluoridation, for its wide-reaching strategy for the prevention of tooth decay, we recognize the significant contribution to reducing dental caries and promoting equitable access to oral health, especially in rural areas where healthcare is limited. It stands out as a uniquely effective and cost-effective strategy for improving oral health. In most areas of Butte County, we're rural, and we face numerous challenges, including lack of dental homes, dental providers, awareness of benefits of using fluoridated toothpaste. It's important for us to provide preventative services to our community, especially the children. And we also, like I said, we've been serving the schools, several schools. We have several MOUs in place where we provide education, and we also provide the kindergarten oral health assessments that are mandatory by the state. We are funded by Prop 56, which is the tobacco tax, so we are not a permanent program, but we are small, but we are mighty. Mm-hmm. We provide one full-time staff member, which is Celia, who will be coming up here next, and then there's me. I oversee the program, and we have a part-time RDH, or registered dental hygienist, who actually provides the screenings. And then from there, we also partner with UCSF, and we have a resident dental intern that works all year at our school sites and helps partner with us to provide education and collect community health assessment information. And we also partner with a local RDHAP, which is a registered dental hygienist advanced practice, which basically means we can refer a child to her, and that RDHAP has a contract with the school, not us, to provide those emergency dental services or treatment referrals.
Thank you very much. Very informational. Thank you.
Mike.
He's going to turn on for you. There you go. You're on.
Thank you. My name is Celia Canelia, and I'm the program coordinator for the local oral health program. And I just wanted to add to what Angela just spoke about. The American Dental Association, the ADA, has recognized fluoride and community water fluoridation as safe and effective in preventing tooth decay for children and adults for many years. It has been the policy of the ADA to support community water fluoridation since 1950. We are requesting Mayor Pittman and council members to postpone this decision so we can have attendance from professional dentists from the community, and a dentist that's an expert in water fluoridation wants to come to the council meeting on June 4th. They would like the opportunity to inform the community about community water fluoridation facts. If we can request to postpone this decision, that would be wonderful.
Thank you. Appreciate the information.
Thank you. Up next, I have Michelle Bucher.
Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
You're
Okay.
You're good.
Hi, my name is Michelle Bucher, and I'm an Orville community member and an educator. And I attended the large council meeting at the theater with my husband. He's an LP wrestling coach.
Oh, okay.
And so this totally piqued my interest, and I wanted to come down and share. So my history is that I dealt with some health issues as a child, Lyme disease and some other autoimmune issues. And I so appreciate health professionals But through all the medications provided, nothing was really ever able to help. And so in my early 20s, I started looking at what I was putting into my body and realizing, oh, I can really make a difference. And I'm pretty much in remission from everything. Praise God. So, but one of the things on that path was deciding I wasn't going to put fluoride into my body, do my best not to ingest it in water. I removed it from all my toothpaste. I only use toothpaste with tea tree oil. And in 15 years, I haven't had a cavity. So yay for tea tree. But so I believe that there are other routes to go other than fluoride. I would like the choice. My husband would also like the choice to not have fluoride in our water. And also, since I have a little bit more time, I would like to read just a little bit from PubMed, because I know we were mentioning don't know too much information from the other side. So here we go. So it says, fluoride is not an essential nutrient, and no disease has ever been linked to a fluoride deficiency. Fluoride is claimed to be a cumulative poison and biologically very active even at low concentrations because it interferes with hydrogen bonding and inhibits numerous enzymes. Only 50% of the daily ingested fluoride is excreted through the kidneys. The remainder accumulates in the bones, the pineal gland, and other tissues. Pineal gland also helps you produce melatonin, so if you don't produce enough melatonin, you don't sleep well. Initial studies on animals showed that fluoride accumulation in the pineal gland led to reduced, melatonin production and an earlier onset of puberty. The same researcher then showed in later studies that fluoride can accumulate in very high levels in the human pineal gland. Fluoride toxicity can lead to renal damage in children. Researchers studied 210 children living in areas of China with varying levels of fluoride in water, 0.61 to 5.69 parts per million. Among this group, the children drinking water with more than 2 parts per million fluoride, particularly those with dental fluorosis, were found to have increased levels of NAG and YGT in their urine, both which are markers of kidney damage. The children's urine also contains increased levels of lactic dehydrogenase, a possible indicator of liver damage. A diseased kidney is unable to effectively excrete fluoride, so individuals with compromised kidneys, which my mother-in-law has compromised kidneys, she had one removed, are at risk of developing fluorosis.
Thank you, Michelle. You did well. You got it well in the 3 minutes.
Thank you. Up next, we have Margie Hunt.
We moved here 52 years ago, and we're in the same house, and we're on a well. And I've raised my children fluoride-free. And in the oldest child that we have is 63 years old, and I've probably had 2 cavities out of 5 children in all those years. But it wasn't just fluoride, and I've avoided fluoride in every way I could for the last 40 years. And I'm losing my thought because I'm old, you guys. Just a second here.
We'll get it.
It's coming. Diet. I was the prison warden on sugar with my children, and I avoided as much as I could in the realm of diet for them to maintain health. They are now adults with no cavities. And their children, as far as I know, have had very few, and I don't know what their process now. But I just needed to share that with you, that I think that the parental responsibility is more important than the government responsibility.
Thank you, Margie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
That's all I had for submitted public comment, Mr. Mayor.
That's it for the public comment. Okay. Any councilman follow-up comments? Not seeing any. This is a public hearing to gather information. And then the council is welcome to make a recommendation to this point. Any suggestions?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Well, in public hearing, we can't make a motion yet, can we?
Why can't?
You know, this was a
Just direction?
it wasn't it was a self-inflicted public hearing. So because we wanted to get the word out. Frankly, we wanted to get the word out as much as possible. So you can give staff direction here.
Yeah, you can give staff direction. I don't know how it was originally done. It was done by a resolution of council, but you would undo the decision to add fluoride to the water through the same mechanism that you
Yes,
did it. So if there
there's
was
a
a
resolution
resolution,
to the
staff
PUC.
would look into bringing it back before you for a
Mhm.
resolution to, you know,
Undo
you
the-
do nothing,
undo
or a
the
resolution to change that,
Right.
whatever your direction might be.
Mr. Mayor, I do have just of staff, as you research this, as we begin to consider changing this. Again, going back to my earlier comment about, there are other cities, obviously, who are taking the same action of no longer providing fluoride in the water. Research, having quality research. For example, Thermalito has not fluorided their water ever. And over here in this part of town, we have. It'd be interesting. Obviously, I'm not asking for us to do that deep dive, right? But, just one wonders, is there really much of a difference? No one has that answer, but I think there is research probably out there that has looked into that. So I think that's an important part of that consideration. But I'm like Councilman Thompson. I think that we're at a point in our society, that's a personal choice. And no longer is Big Brother, in a position of dictating those kinds of personal choices, where we, as citizens, should have the freedom to make those kinds of health choices on our own. And more we're learning, as many things kind of get uncovered, that there are oftentimes public policy and public health policy that later on we learn wasn't so good. And potentially this could be one of them, who no one really knows. But I think, again, providing that choice is something that I think we enjoy here in Orville. Again, going back to that earlier comment, the constitutional republic. I think that's kind of an Orville beloved trait. And so I think we should consider that. But anyway, that's my opinion and comment.
In the queue, I have Councilman Goodson.
Yes, I just wanted to know what the motion was that Councilman Thompson was going to deliver.
I think I was told that this is informational only. We're going to bring it back.
That's what I thought.
Effectively informational, yes. Thank you.
Councilman Johnstone?
Yeah, I took into consideration what these lovely ladies said about like the rural population. I mean, there's got to be, I believe I heard you say that part of what you guys do is the health checkups, and you do provide fluoride, correct? Or you have dental.
This is never ending.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so you can make recommendations for them to get fluoride is what I'm trying to find out? No. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. I think we've received a lot of information. I'm not sure that research will tell us a definite answer to this question, because I've seen research on both sides of the coin here, and I appreciate it all. I mean, it's good information. But I think the consensus of council would be to bring this item back to a future meeting where we would essentially undo the situation, giving people the choice of what they want to have in their child's body and their own bodies. If that's okay with consensus?
I'm in agreement.
Okay.
Just in the circular conversation.
All right. Staff have enough to go on that?
Yep, we do.
And I appreciate the sugar Nazi back there.
Sugar.
Thank you for coming.
Can I just say one more thing?
Certainly, Bay. Please,
I'm
Margie.
not gonna get up, but I'm just gonna say that I understand the fluoride with the teeth, but there are so many other issues that are involved, like the young lady said.
Right,
Health
right,
issues
right.
that need to be considered.
And truthfulness, we have a very small community in terms of that. We don't have anybody rural living in this particular district, this water provider. So I really am appreciative of the staff that I hear back there that are doing their outreach to the kids. And that is the most valuable service, and I welcome you to do that to our public, and thank you very much for that effort. Yes?
I also know that all parents are not.
Okay.
I'm very aware of.
Fair enough, fair enough. All right. So for that public hearing, I think we have direction? We do, thank you. We do. I will now, it's
Okay.
What is it, 6:24? I'll close the public hearings for all the hearings in this agenda.
Amen.
All right. We got to go back to something here.
Regular business.
Regular
Item
business.
6.
Item 6, right?
Yes.
Item 6. Thank you all. Thank you, folks. Appreciate your information. The annual use of military
Material.
equipment is defined by the Orville Municipal Code. Who has this item? Oh, Chief Darnell. Go ahead, you got it.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, citizens of
wow.
Orville.
Energy.
Plug me in.
So,
Yeah, it's the
in
age.
accordance with ordinance number 1865, the Orville Police Department is submitting our annual military equipment use report. This equipment is equipment that is technically classified as military equipment. However, I would like to reassure the council and the citizens that we don't have any F-22 Raptors, Apache helicopters, or Abram tanks.
Not yet.
Not yet, no. These items have been tested and they're used by law enforcement agencies to enhance citizen and officer safety and to mitigate risk. The loss of these items could jeopardize public safety. As the council has the report and everything in front of them, I will just open up. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions of council?
No.
Excellent.
Do we have any public comment cards on this item?
None received.
None received. Then I would entertain a motion for item number 6. Oh, we just receive input and
Receive
approve a
input.
report. All right, by looking at, do you have a question? Oh, okay, sorry.
No.
We thank you for your presentation, and we have received the information. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council.
Item,
Mr. Mayor, we
Yes.
do need a motion, I'm sorry, to approve that report.
okay.
So moved.
I move.
So moved. Call
Second.
roll.
Third.
One of the advantages of electronic accounting, we get it done real quick. Yeah, it's working tonight. thank
Motion
God.
passes.
Motions? Oh, okay, we didn't hear. All right, item number 7 then is the Edwards Mini Storage Project, 2560 Feather River Boulevard, zoning amendment ZC 24-01, establishment of mini zone overlay, MS-0 district. Welcome.
Turn her on.
She'll be on shortly.
Mike.
There you go, you're on.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Pittman and council members. Tonight, we are having a discussion with hopefully a straw vote to move this project forward. It was supposed to be a public hearing. There was an issue with some of the timing on the public notices, and so we're doing it a little sideways to help our applicant and get some new development. So today is we're going to talk about ZC 2401. It is the creation of a mini storage overlay within the city of Orville. And I am doing that myself, sorry.
There you go.
Okay, so 2560 Feather River Boulevard, this is right behind where the Reeby's is. The empty portion of the lot to the back portion on the west side is where this proposed development will be. The mini storage overlay would be over the whole parcel though, because it goes by the parcel. So there were a total of 3 entitlements for this project, and they are all described in the staff report. The use permit and the variance are required underneath the MSO overlay, and those were recommended to be approved at Planning Commission last month with the caveat that the zone change also needs to be approved through City Council. So this is where we'll pause and have our discussion a little bit. So right now, our code requires that we do an assessment of impacts for any new mini storage that is coming into the city. And this is, the intent of this is to minimize any potential negative impacts that could arise from having a mini storage at any specific location rather than other commercial developments. And so we're going to do that right now. Let's go over the assessment of impacts. So first off, the mini storage overlay itself. This was created via ordinance in 2004 to, again, help mitigate any potential conflicts between other commercial entities. There is only one mini storage overlay right now within the city that was also created in 2004. There is a storage facility located on Grand Avenue, and they have this overlay on them. None of the other mini storages do because they predated that. Also, as part of the assessment of impacts, we look at how many total storage facilities are within the city and how many total storage units there are within the city. So we have currently there are 10 storage facilities within the city. They are all those little orange dots here on the screen. The one that has the square around it is the existing facility that has an MSO overlay on it. And then our proposed development is in green off of Feather River all the way on the west side there. And so if you do notice, there is kind of a concentration of storage units in that area. If we add this proposed development, that'll be 5 in that one part of town. However, the zoning there is an intensive commercial and an intensive industrial, which is more suitable for a warehouse-style development, both in size requirements and in visual impacts. And so staff has determined that that part of the assessment has been met. The next is how many storage units are available in the city right now. So this data was taken off of our business licenses, so it's approximate because it is a self-reporting that the storage units do. But we have approximately a little over 3,000 units right now. The storage unit being proposed today would bring an additional 212 units to the city, bringing our total up to around 3,361 units. The two there that I have in the middle with the star on them, the first one, security for storage, that is the existing MSO overlay, and hopefully we will approve this MSO overlay, and we will now have 2 within the city, which would be those 2 that are starred right there. The applicant is proposing a relatively low number of storage units compared to how many are already in the city, which staff has determined would most likely be a small impact and within acceptable limits. So due to the fact that this is officially a discussion, not a public hearing, we are asking at this time that the recommended actions be that if there are any comments or direction for any desired changes, that is expressed to us here tonight. And then on the next council hearing, which is June 4th.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna be here on July 4th. Is that we do it either via consent, and then we can pull it to public hearing if any public does show up, and also concurrently adopt the ordinance at that time. We did send out, the notice did go out, it just went out a little bit later, and we have not received any responses to that. However, I also do have the applicant here with me today, and he can discuss the project as well. And that's it. That is my presentation, and I can also answer any questions, and thank you very much.
Thank you. We do have a question from Vice Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, thank you for that presentation. And you've kind of addressed it. My immediate thought was, what are the other retailers? Like Tractor Supply just built a beautiful building. I was in there last night. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, needed some chicken food.
I don't know, you
so-
can buy that there.
So my thought would just be, how do they feel about, this addition, that type of business, and any potential impacts, traffic flow, those type, the typical stuff that you guys are going to answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Barring that, we all know that storage is a premium, it's expensive. And so adding additional units, I haven't looked into it as of late, but of course with the fires and, all of those types of things, at one point you couldn't find a storage unit
Yeah.
in the area. So I do know that there's a tremendous need there and a need for additional units, assuming, and we're a transitory community somewhat. And so those units do provide a, viable service. So that's just my initial thoughts.
Am I allowed to respond to that?
Sure.
Okay, so what I wanted to say is that I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with you. I did call around when I was doing my assessments and spoke to some of the on-site managers, and a lot of them indicated that they were at a higher capacity level. And then what this applicant is proposing that we do not currently, I could not find an example of within the city. I'm not saying we don't have it, I just couldn't find it, is covered RV storage. So the variance that I mentioned earlier that was approved by council is to have 5 oversized units specifically designed to cover RVs, because we do not currently offer that.
Got it. Thank you. Any other questions from council?
Yes, I
Oh,
would like,
Vice Mayor Smith, or, excuse me, Councilman Goodson.
I would like to meet the applicant.
Yeah. Tyler Edwards is right here.
Welcome, Tyler. Good evening.
Yes, Tyler, it's been a while.
We've met.
2016.
Okay. Any questions I can answer for you?
I think this is great.
Okay, good.
Anything that you can add? Or did she do a great job?
She
at
did
this?
a fantastic job.
Okay.
I don't know that I have anything more to add, except for, we've been looking for a location for a while. We bought some property out on the end of Ore Dam, going out towards the airport, and the city wasn't really thrilled about that location as much as we were. So we switched gears, found this location, and I think it fit the needs of everybody. So.
Okay. Thanks.
Cool.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Do we have any comment cards on this item?
We do not, sir.
Okay. I entertain a motion from council members.
Absolutely, to adopt the notice of exemption as the appropriate level of environmental review for this project and waive the first reading.
Second.
And introduce in title only.
So I'll call the roll.
Motion passes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
All right.
Thank you.
Item number 8 is fund balance policy amendment. I guess Brian has this.
I'm Ruth tonight. Yes, thank you. This item is a discussion on our fund balance policy. Historically, what the city has done is, well, let me back up. The fund balance is what we're referring to is funds that are available, general purpose revenues that are available at the end of the year that have not been spent, and they're not, essentially, it's kind of like a savings account. And over time, the city, what they've done annually is that this fund balance rolls over. Right now, with the audited report for June 30th of '23, our estimated or our projected fund balance was $14.8 million. Now, with that said, that doesn't account for, so that was in 2023. So now if we're looking at 23, 24, we have spent some of those funds this year, specifically the courtyard purchase, and we've dedicated some resources to that for the infill work and such. So we're anticipating that fund balance to be somewhere in $11 or $12 million. Historically, again, the city has rolled this fund balance over to the next year, and it's been rolled over as unassigned. What staff are recommending at this point in time, I've had a lot of discussions with Ruth on this, and we've met with our auditor, is that we assign this fund balance to known expenses that we anticipate in the future. For example, we know that we have our pension obligation bond, correct, which is about, I think, $18 million. And that's funded through, it's an expense we have through 2040. But with that said, we already know that CalPERS has a new unfunded liability, which was estimated to be $12 million. We have other capital projects. We have road issues. We have other debt that needs to be paid off. And so what we're trying to think about is long-term here. We obviously measure you as a great resource for the city to operate on an annual basis. One-time monies that build up over time are not designed to pay for ongoing expenses, because once those dollars are gone, they're gone. So what staff is recommending that we do is we bring in the budget, how we'd like to assign these funds. And again, an example could be a certain portion of that to the pension, a certain portion that maybe the capital projects. We know St. Park needs some attention, the Girdler Building, Scout House. There's other buildings out there that we know that do need some attention in the very near future. Possibly put some money for roads. In addition to that, what we'd like to recommend is that we establish what we call a contingency fund. Right now, we have a reserve, and that reserve is set at $9 million, and it is $9 million. That's not what I'm talking about here. This is in addition to the reserve. The reserves are designed for emergent situations that significant revenues that go away, where we need to tap into that for our operations. What we'd like to establish is a contingency fund of either $500,000 or $1 million, where frankly, you can't always anticipate what you're going to need in any given fiscal year, right? Despite all of the staff's best efforts, council's input, when the budget comes before you and adopt it for the next year, there's certainly going to be things that come up that year. I'll use the LVT camera system, a great tool that the city invested in this year. We didn't have budgeted for it, but we used fund balance to pay for that. I'd prefer to have what's established a contingency fund that if there is the wishes of the council to do something like that, okay, we have these dollars here in this contingency fund. These are one-time dollars that we budget for unanticipated, unknown needs that the council would like to take action on. And then we assign the remainder of that to known future expenses to position the city financially as best we can going forward in the future. And the recommendations would come to the council during the budget process.
Councilman Goodson has a question.
Yes, I'm still stuck on what you had mentioned earlier, some of our unfunded obligations.
Or
And you mentioned a couple of $1 million fees. Did I hear somewhere in there, didn't we have a successor bond or loan that sunset in 2030 that our property taxes go towards every year? Does anybody else remember that? And how much is that? How much is still owed? What's the balance?
I will look I'm not aware of that. I can look into that though, and I apologize. That has not crossed my, you said successor agency bond?
You know, all I know
I can talk to you
is
offline.
it sunsets in
Okay.
2030.
Okay.
So when you said something about a 2040, that just triggered.
Yeah, the 2040 is our pension obligation bond, our POB.
Probably she's referring to the RDA.
Yeah.
Downsizing in that particular.
Unwinding the
activity.
RDA.
Right.
Okay.
I'll look into that though, to
Yeah,
see if there's
Ruth-
anything
Ruth
on there.
definitely knows. Okay, thank you.
Well, and I'll comment too, that I think this is a good idea, because we have a couple projects and we don't know what the costs will be. A good example, the Girdler Building.
Oh,
We don't have the
yes.
engineering report back yet that I know of.
The estimate there, what we did is we got an estimate from our project management firm, and we pumped the brakes because they said it'd be over $1 million. We knew we didn't have $1 million available.
Right.
Well, we're not gonna bulldoze it down. It's historical.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Eventually, and every year, the costs go up. So
Correct.
when do we address it?
Well, again, this is something that if we can make some recommendations to make such improvements. Again, I know Fred's been doing a lot of work on the lot home, and it needs, you know, it's one of those beautiful assets that the city has, and if we don't take care of it,
Right.
it will deteriorate over time. So it is important
Well,
to
I think
invest in these.
That's exactly what we should do, because I'm, there's a couple buildings that are city buildings. In particular, the Girdler Building was given to the city, and we've never really spent any money at all on it. It's been used by the city storage for, I believe, the new museum storage for a long-term period. So I'm just giving this as an example as a contingency fund, because I hear a number, I don't know if that number is related to a new plan, and I think a new plan, whatever the plan is, I don't know what that is, but certainly it's our responsibility to take care of it. And I don't think it's gonna have any retail value to anybody else. It has great historical value, as Councilman Goodson recommended, so I think that just shows one example of having a contingency fund. When you get to a point in time when the opportunity comes about that, we do have a plan to fix it.
And the reason, a big reason for me to be pushing for this is, one is to position the city again for fiscal stability in the future. But Councilmember Goodson, oftentimes I'll hear, hey, how much money do we have? How much one-time money is available? And candidly, it's one of those things, it's a moving target. So if we assign these dollars, then we know, okay, these dollars are dedicated for future known obligations. But if we have $1 million in contingency, if someone says, how much money do we have? The council has $1 million to spend this year in a contingency fund. If it wishes to do so, it'll take 5/7 to do that. But there are those resources that are available for unknown needs. And if you say, where's all the other monies? We can say, we have it assigned to pension, we have it assigned for capital projects, we have it assigned for whatever those known needs are. Because we all know expenses are rising quicker than revenues. So we want to make sure we position the city the best we can for those future
So this
expenses.
is a supermajority decision?
For the contingency, if there was a need to tap into the contingency, yes, it would be a 5/7.
Not
for
for
this.
this
Not for
specific
this, no.
item here, it's just a
Well-
majority, but it would come back for the contingency amount.
Yep.
Okay.
So and do we have any comments on this item?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so what's the council's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to adopt the amendment.
Which, could you clarify that, please?
So the amendments would be to recommend that staff bring back during the budget process, how that fund balance would be assigned. And assigned,
Okay.
it could be a contingent, we'd establish a contingency allocation, pension costs, leave buyback. If we have, again, that's an obligation that we know that we have to pay back. Capital projects, roads.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Motion passes.
Thank you, folks. Looks like the next item, if I can bounce over public hearings, is we have another chance at public communication hearing of non-agenda items. Anyone in the audience?
Yes, we do have one speaker card, Mr. Mayor, from Bill Spear.
Mr. Spear, welcome.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, sorry I was late. But the verse of the day is John 8:12. Says, when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Very awesome verse. Share with you very awesome people. Father, we thank you for the light of life, your son Jesus, who shines in our city. And I thank you for the work that you're doing in our city. I thank you for the wisdom that you give into our city council and the provision that you are bringing. Thank you for the roads that are getting fixed and the care that is getting put into the infrastructure, into the growth, into development of our city. Thank you for the fluoride getting taken out of the water, for, Lord, all the things that you are doing. Thank you for the churches that are growing, for the service groups that are active and doing things. And Lord, I just want to continue to put a special prayer in for the rescue mission. And I am so grateful and thankful for them, for the work that they've done faithfully in our city for years and years and years. Thank you for the provision that's finally come to help them, Lord, to minister to the least of these, to the stranger and the broken and the lost. Thank you for the Hope Center, and continue to pray that you would encourage them and strengthen them and expand them. Thank you for the jail and for reopening it and letting us go back into to minister. And Father, we know that your word says you correct and rebuke those that you love, that you have them in there on a timeout to speak to them, Lord, and to encourage them and strengthen them. And just continue, Lord, to use the church, Lord, to activate us, to see the opportunities that you have before us. Continue to bless our leadership here and the elders at the city gates, to have that supernatural wisdom to guide us forward, to walk in the light and be transparent. And Father, I'm just extremely grateful and thankful for this new season. And I pray that you would be glorified, that your kingdom would come, your will, your plans, and your purposes for our city would go forth. We love you. We praise you. We give you all the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, sir. Any other comment cards, non-agenda items?
No, sir.
Next item, future agenda items from council. Any future agenda items for council requests?
How about that gateway?
You don't see any?
How about that gateway?
Oh, the Gateway project, yeah. Councilman Thompson's up.
Just a small matter, but just kind of a squeaky wheel as far as our flagpole out front. Now, we've mentioned it a couple times, but just to be clear, as far as what I would like is not just a little pole, but we have Speed gas station or whatever that's on Speed Mart.
Or Devin Myers? Yeah. Something like that.
That's what he wants.
Large. I'm serious.
Okay.
City Hall.
Yeah, City Hall.
This one's dinky. It's just
Yeah.
it's like, it's, yeah.
Okay, Councilman Weber, what's up?
Yeah, I would echo those sentiments as well. And then Mr. Mayo and I were talking about the pole down the street as well. And so I would love to see that with a great big beautiful flag on it. You could see that pole from all over as you're approaching downtown, and what a statement that would make. So, and I know you're already working on that. So it's just, and then I wanted to touch bases like, again, the squeaky wheel and Councilmember Goodson, you know, Gateway, she's always a Gateway. She wants her dollar back and, you know, and, and then for me, the local contractor preference ordinance, okay? I really want to see us, you know, build it to where we can focus on giving our contractors, our local contractors preference, you know? And because I heard that, and I don't think this is our jurisdiction, but I heard there was some ironwork that's to be done up at the Veterans Memorial. And I think that's county, correct? And but that just went to an outfit in Sacramento. Yeah, they put a bid out for work up there, and local guys bid it, and then they a Sacramento outfit got the work. So that's not us, but I mean, I would love to see local guys. And I know that there's some local contractors that are actually interested in the RFP that we're going to put out for the Hewitt Park as well. So, and then last thing I want to talk about is real quick that the OCDC hosted a couple of folks from Butte College that came out last week and spoke about some of the services that are available to students that are enrolled. What a fantastic service that is in terms of like employment and paying employment up to a certain amount of percentage rates based upon the qualifying factors. And please forgive me because I'm not from Butte College. I don't know, but they did a fantastic presentation. So I would encourage anybody to reach out to Wendy Porter, Director of Employer Partnership, or Brad Zuniga, which is the Vice President of Student Services. And he came out and did a fantastic presentation and just an unbelievable, what it looks like to me, an untapped resource for our community, for our students that attend Butte College. Just really good stuff. And then we also had further discussed our conversation about setting up a permanent South County campus with Butte College right here in Orville. So it was a really good conversation, and I'm hoping that we could continue that conversation in the future. We could see a Butte College presence right here in Orville permanently.
Okay. Thank you all. So Weber's just finished. I think we can move forward with correspondence, which we've received of the Orville Police Department monthly report and the Arbor Day Foundation names Orville's Tree City press release. That being said, the next item is adjournment of this meeting.
And closed session.
And before adjournment, we
Yes.
have to go back to closed session. So folks, we'll be returning to closed session. Thank you all for being here tonight. Appreciate your attendance. You bet. Thanks, Chief.
I don't know if you got my text.